Thomas, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast today. I'm so excited to talk to you. I feel like it's just going to be an amazing chat.
I am too. I am too. Thank you for welcoming me on this podcast and for giving the opportunity to have the conversation we're going to have.
Yeah, already grateful for the that which is coming through the flow and the transcendent pipeline of the future. I think to start, I mean, you have such a diverse range of things that you do that I'm not even sure where to begin. Would you actually, I mean, like from just, from spiritual modern shamanism all the way to like, entrepreneurship and everything in between. And then of course the psychedelics and everything, like there's so much to get into. Would you, just for everyone listening and even myself, would you describe like what it is that you do, like who you are and how you got here?
Yes, 100%. Well, the most, let's say, interesting aspect for answering this question is that I spent 80% of my life so far in the scientific and non-spiritual community until I had some sort of awakening that actually shifted my perception on things. And I started to become, let's say, an adept of personal development and spiritual technologies. So I come from the background that is actually great for talking to scientists and even the corporate capitalistic world about the nature of reality and the usage of technologies, both organic and inorganic. So personally now, let's say I interact into the world as a freedom entrepreneur, guiding people to work and expand through their business life and their personal life, let's say, in a spiritual way, so that they can uplift their consciousness, but also the one of the collective. And I work with technologies that are both from, let's say, the earth and both from the more inorganic scientific side. Because today we enter a new era where we have access to sides of science and traditional spirituality that together can work and balance each other for your upliftment. So in my personal side, I've been studying many of the, let's say, ancient traditions for the past few years, including plant medicine, subconscious reprogramming, quantum healing, and energy healing, and also usage of the new kind of technologies that are actually going to transform, in my opinion, the way that we approach wellness and spiritual development. So let's say that's the space where I operate at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, you like one of the things like right off the bat, like I was just looking into just in the little bit of time before our call here, like your Healy device, right? Like, can you describe what that is, and maybe how does it work?
Yes, absolutely. More information can be found on the websites that I created, but basically, Healy is the first technology that is inorganic, meaning that is not a human interface consciousness that can access what we call in the East the Akasha, and what they call in advanced science the information field, which is another dimensional level where only information exists. The information of your health, of your hormones, of your nervous system, but also of your stored and repressed emotions and the way you feel in general in the present moment. So this guy, who is a genius, a quantum physicist genius, who went to be a monk for 10 years. So, kind of the same background as us, like someone who can talk about science and spirituality in a way that, of course, much more advanced than us, in a way that is recognized and renowned in both worlds. And he came back from monkhood with the understanding that he needs to bring into the world something new that is actually perfectly aligned with the age of Aquarius, let's say, mentality. And this little device is capable of connecting to the quantum field or the information field or the Akasha. So going to that plane to find which frequencies you need in your body for your well-being. Because if your liver is not functioning correctly, it's resonating very highly with the frequencies that will make it more optimal. So this guy basically figured out a technological way to query this plane of dimension to extract information that can benefit your well-being. And it's quantum in its functioning. But the best part of it, it's not the scientific or technological advancement. The best part is that it's accessible to not everyone on the planet, because we have an entry cost and it's only in 46 countries at the moment, but it's available to the people, not to advanced elites or very, let's say, closed community. It's widely available, and it gives people a direct application of quantum understanding for their health. So it's there, it's grounded, it's in our reality. And that's one of the products that I find is leading the charge of the next evolution of actually spiritual technologies, because it can support you in a multidimensional way. And of course, I'm not blindly following this. It has been confirmed both by certain scientists, but also from non-physical beings, actually, that this is the next evolution of what we have access to. And it's just wonderful for me. And of course, it does wonders for your body, because if you find the right combination of frequencies in the right order, you give the conditions to your physical body to allow the organic healing that it knows how to do already. When you cut yourself, it fixes itself. It's the same for any kind of disease. The information on how to fix it, it's in your DNA. It is in the morphogenetic field. But it will not access it if it doesn't have the right conditions. And the Healy will give you the right frequency to allow the organic healing. So that's just in a few minutes what it is about.
Wow. So yeah, like I was seeing on your site, like it looked like it was just an app. Is it an app and a device, or is it just the app?
It's a device. Here I'm showing it to you because it's encased in a nanoplated copper box. But
cool.
Inside it looks a bit more, let's say, medically mainstream inside. Let me try to pull it out. Yeah. Looks like this. So they made it much more, let's say, medical. It is actually a medical device in Europe, and it's cleared by the FDA in America. So it's not, a woohoo device. It's
wow.
straight. And there is an app to control it, because here you just have the quantum technologies that can identify which frequencies are good for you, and that works by resonance analysis. And it all works on the concept of resonance, which I want to touch upon, because in a gathering that the inventor and the genius made for the 21st of December, he invited a panel of scientists and spiritual masters to discuss the topic of consciousness. And in one of them, some people have been doing experiments on how human consciousness can influence the outcome of a random noise generator. So basically, you have an algorithm that is supposed to give you a random number, as if you're playing a dice. And actually, when you have people focusing with a certain intention on this algorithm, the outcome is modified. And it's a way to scientifically prove that consciousness can impact at the macro level a scientific process. And he was asking to the woman, how would you explain that's possible? That you can influence the outcome of a physical event. And the woman said, it's called love, but in the scientific terms, we call it resonance. Because your consciousness enters in resonance with another part of the global consciousness, and it starts to synchronize or act, according to each other. And I loved that aspect, that approach.
Wow, you're connected. I mean, you're really connected. I mean, this is remarkable. So, what kind of results could you see from if I picked up the device and started using it? What kind of results could I see? But then if someone was really sick with something, or wanted to use it to treat something, how would it work for them? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. The way it works is very simple. You have an app that will show you, display to you different frequency program For example, there is one that is called chronic back pain, one that is called intestinal balancing, one that is called kidney detoxification, and there's a wide range of them. In each of these individual programs, you have 200 or 300 frequencies that have been studied the past 15 years but, as to helping that particular organ or system. But what matters is not to have 300 frequencies that are good for the liver. What matters is to know which one you need first, and then which one you need after, and then which one you need after. That's what the Healy is doing. It's going through the quantum field to identify the sequence and the elements of a personalized frequency treatment. And what you would do is that you would use these electrodes and these cables to put it on your wrists, or if it's a local problem like back pain, you would put the electrodes on the back and you would launch the program, and the Healy would connect to see which frequencies you need, send it to you for 10 seconds. And then it will scan again, because your cells have received an information and they are recalibrating now. And then you have to scan again to know, after receiving this first frequency, what is the second one you need? And then it will send you the second one. So, in a, let's say, more practical way, you have electrodes that are sending micro electrical currents. So it's like a very light bzz, a light feeling, and it's changing every 10 seconds. Sometimes you feel nothing because the frequency is too high, like 500,000 hertz. Sometimes you feel it very strongly, like 1 hertz, 1 beep per second. So yeah, in a really like grounded way, you would use it for many days in a row until you could recalibrate the systems or the cells that were not functioning optimally. So it's important when we talk about results to stay compliant with the way that we can talk about it, and not to say it does this, but I can give you examples on what it did for, let's say, strongly impressionable results. Example, my neighbor in France, who has been working in the fields all his life and knows nothing about spirituality, energy, or science, had a knee surgery to get a replacement knee. How does that call? A prosthesis, And it was 9 months ago, and his physical body, his organic body didn't, let's say, correctly adjusted to that operation. So he was in constant pain and lost the quality of his sleep and could not actually do bicycle anymore. And he's very stubborn, like this older kind of guy from the nature, from the fields. So my mom, who was one too, of course, she told him, look, we have nothing to lose. Can I just put it on your knee and see what happens? He said, okay. And she did a treatment on 3 days, 3 or 4 days, by putting the frequencies around joints and articulation, and a release program to flush out the frequencies, the energies that are blocking this spot. Just to see, And 3 days later, he came and he said, this is crazy. I slept like a baby, first time in 9 months, and the pain is gone. So I went to bicycle for 20 kilometers, first time in 9 months. And he said, we will see if, the effect lasts. But right now, I want to get one too, because I don't understand how it works and I don't need to. I feel the difference. And another fantastic case is with fibromyalgia, who my personal family friend, Sylvie, who made also a testimony on my YouTube channel, had it for 2 years. She could not close her hand anymore. She could not stand in a shower for more than 3 minutes because of the pain from her nervous system. So she just gave it a try, because why not? There's nothing you can do. She was extremely skeptical. It did nothing for 10 days, nothing. Until the 12th day, she woke up and he was gone. And to this day, it's been 5 months, it did not come back at all. It's completely gone. So the way to
even without her, even without using it?
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
She stopped using it right after to see if it would come back, because the goal is not to become dependent. That would be unwise. And the interpretation is the Healy provided the right frequencies to unlock the organic healing that her body was blocked about doing. And there is actually more than 30,000 testimonies like this on a whole range of topics. But it's important that the people just do their research on this rather than me displaying it. I can talk about my own personal experience, I use it in a more advanced way. And, for a spiritual, let's say a high spiritual discussion between you and me, that's what is going to be more interesting. The basic usage is sending frequencies to help a certain situation or condition in your body. But you have also a module that is giving you access to some information in your information field. And that's better than, just finding frequencies. And what the team has designed is a way to query your Akashic records imprint, because that's what the information field is, the Akashic record instant imprint of your own data. And it's possible for you, through this device, to scan the distribution of energy in your 7 main chakras on the instant. So it will show you a bar diagram of what is the instant flow of energy in your chakras. And what do you do with it? First, you can play, for example, by holding a crystal, connecting with it, and seeing what is the impact on your chakra. But even more interesting, and that's what I love the most, you can send informational energy in your chakra. So you can rewrite, the source of this information. So just for fun, looks like this. For each chakra, it gives you a number on 0 to 99 or 100. And,
cool.
And you can see that. And then you can scan inside a chakra to approximate the active blockages right now. And that's crazy, because if you're an adept of personal development, you have a way now to see what kind of patterns are activated. Example, my solar plexus is very low, so my higher intelligence is telling me, take a look in the solar plexus. Right now it's low. I scan the solar plexus with the intention, because the intention matters when you work with the quantum field. It's completely connected. You put the intention, what message, what blockage should I be aware of right now? You scan, and it tells you in English, the person is afraid of taking decision because of the responsibility that comes with it. And it tells you even if it's in your physical body, your emotional body, or your mental body, so that you can know, if you have the tools for it, where to deblock or release this energy. So of course we can go much more in depth, but that's enough for you to understand what it could mean to be able to use a technology to query the Akashic field. Like the possibilities are infinite of what you can do. And that's why I'm so fond of it. It's the next octave of the game here.
That's so cool. I already want one. So I'm going to make a note for myself to, after this call, I know what I'm doing. And you can order them anywhere. You're saying this is available in 40 something countries, right? I could just order one and it'll be at my doorstep in a few weeks.
It will not be, it's not possible in Canada or in Mexico, for example, but in America, it's open since, in the US, it's open since May. So they started with Europe and then Asia and then America, but it's only 2 years old. Not the technology, but the distribution of to the people, They've been using it in clinical application for 15 years, but only 2 years ago, they put in place the necessary strategy to distribute the product to the people. And I want to say something, that shows, and that's a very bold move, network marketing to distribute it for several reasons, even if it can seem weird. First, they're not a network marketing company. They're a German clinical research company. And at the beginning, they just sold it on their website. And they saw that they will not be able to distribute it to sufficient enough people this way. So they changed the strategy a year and a half ago, and they said, you know, we're going to do a revolution. We're going to pioneer distributing a medical device through the network marketing. And you know what that allowed? That allows the distribution to go through the people much faster, because of course, when it works, network marketing it spreads like a wildfire. But what is mostly important is that there is no marketing going through the public space. So you are not at risk of being censored by big pharma and by, let's say, forces that exist that are not concerned with you accessing this type of technology. Because if you use the Healy, you take less pharmaceutical drugs and even less alternative treatments, because it's just frequency that you need. So they did a bold move, and it's working now. There's more than 100,000 Healys that were bought in the last 2 years, and it's going to reach 500,000 by end of next year, because it's an exponential, let's say, tendency. And Canada, I think you're in Canada, right?
I'm in Canada, so I can't get it. That's so sad.
It's gonna come soon. It's the next country on the list. So in a few few weeks, a few months. Because
I really want to try it. I mean, especially what you described of like just the way that it's been supporting and like healing people's bodies. I've had this on and off pain in my knee for many years, actually. And I really want to try it and just see like what, I mean, I've managed my own like energy practices, like to make it manageable. And sometimes it goes away for periods of time. But it does come back if I become very like lazy with my, making sure I'm stretching and yoga and all these things. I'd be very, very curious to see what happens with this device. So I'm looking forward to trying it. I'll have to stay in touch.
Let's talk outside the space and see how we can work this out. But I'm excited for you to try it. This is not a theory. You hurt in your knee for a few years. Perfect. Try it. See what happens.
Exactly. It's a perfect exactly. It's a very practical test. Instead of like, oh well, I feel a little bit better. Really seeing like a physical pain. That would be really cool to try. Yeah,
that's how it works. That's what I love about it. But most importantly is the idea of what it conveys into 2021 and this new big cycle, this new cosmic cycle is, guys, now we have more than before that is available in terms of helping you on your spiritual journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this in, let's say, technological advancement, which is still very, little what it can do compared to star beings or even ancient civilization from the planet. But still, at one moment we have to start getting to the next step, because the internet is good and all the technologies that we've been doing is great, but it's nothing compared to crystal technology, consciousness-based technology, quantum technology that exists in other parts of the universe and that are accessible to other type of beings.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the discussion, of course, of the medicines of the earth, of the traditional shamanic plants. How does that come into the discussion? And I know you're pretty fond of that as well. What is your take on considering to use medicines of the earth for your own upliftment or your own healing?
Well, I do it. I feel like I do it all the time. So I feel like that answer is a bit of I feel like I'm being set up here because my favorite place so far to go is Rhythmia, which is, one of the world's first medically licensed ayahuasca healing centers. And it's so, what's amazing is like what they've done is created this like environment where they hold a space for your healing. And this is what I like, people who haven't gone to Rhythmia or who have gone to like a sacred space to do medicine as a ceremonial experience, you don't really get the same level of like, if I just walk, if like I end this call and I walk in down the hall and I just like, I don't know, get a bag of mushrooms and then just eat it. Like, I'm not going to have the same, I'm going to have an amazing journey. Something's going to happen, but it's not quite the same as the space that is held by this like beautiful team. And I think like the setting and the substance, like the whole environment needs to be so like designed and intended for this transcendental healing experience, for it to actually really to be very consistently providing you with, like creating miracles in your life. But it really is potent and powerful for that. And that if we can take that seriously, then it's like the sky's the limit in terms of the possibilities. Like, I have a dream of even building the Spirit Center that you're familiar with, right? Like a Spirit Center here in Canada. And my hopes are that we can get like a legal license to do like LSD and psilocybin with like as a part of like a scientific and a healing based modality. So like I just imagine like what would happen if you brought a bunch of scientists together and said, okay, guys, we're going to solve the source field. We're going to solve like the unified field theory. Let's go. And like, like you got 6 or 9 scientists come together. They all take LSD and they're working on problems together. Like, we would make so much progress as a species, farther than we've made in thousands of years, because of the support of that medicine in like a sacred space, but we have to use it like that, because otherwise, if you're just like going to a party with a bunch of people doing hard drugs and there's rave music and it's loud and it's sweaty and it's just garbage energy, right? Like you go there and you take a bunch of anything, it could really lead to a bad trip, because there's this like overwhelming kind of intense vibration that can really trigger you. So it is like an amplifier of consciousness, and I feel like we have to be very respectful and responsible with it.
I love what you said, and I stand by it 100%. The reason that you need to do it in the correct space is that it's more potent than what you consciously realize. So when you do something like this, you want to make sure that you come out in a more positive and beneficial state than the opposite. Like, if you do it in the wrong conditions, like in a rave or something. And to go even a little bit further in the discussion, so pick it up from there, I believe, or I perceive, that the plant medicines are allowing to open certain doorways in your own consciousness. And if we forget just temporarily that everything around us seems to be separate, it means that even the plant medicine spirit is part of your own consciousness. And because of that, it can open certain doors in your mind, in your subconscious, also in your conscious mind. No? Because if you talk about scientists going together to work on a problem, they will use their conscious mind. If you talk about, going in a deep ayahuasca journey with the intention, there is something I'm fighting with inside me that is from my childhood maybe, but that is sabotaging my well-being. Please help me to understand and heal it. Then it's a quantum field, it's a morphogenetic field. The spirit, or the set of codes that is contained into that earth medicine, it will open that connection so that you can temporarily be familiar with something in your subconscious. And then it can also help and guide you to provide you with what you need to do the work. And for me, that's more important that you consider working with plant medicine as an empowering experience, and not like going to the doctor. Let's say the modern doctor, because it is like going to the doctor, because you go to another external consult to know what's going on and to get help. But you don't necessarily go to get healed. You go to be more equipped and to have also insights, ideas on how to do it. But you need to do it yourself, and that's empowering. So that's an aspect that often can be forgotten when we consider plant medicine, is that it's not another consciousness that is external to you that is doing the work on you. It's another part of you that you have access to, so that you can become more conscious and learn in the process of healing yourself. That's the way I see it. And different medicines have different sets of codes. So like the Bufo and the Chemo, they can, unlock capabilities in you that are different depending on their own set of code, where they come from on the earth, what they've been used by the indigenous tribe in which way, which influences the morphogenetic field. And it's super interesting. And I just want to touch base on a couple of the, let's say, more advanced discussion on the topic that can be of value to your network, to the people that are following this, is that first, you always go with great humility and respect in there, because this thing is so powerful that, we always say we get our ass kicked if we go with like our ego, I'm going to do that, I'm going to ask that. Well, you can, because, there's no wrong experience, but warning, great respect and humility, because the thing is so powerful. And second, you can also go with two things in mind that usually we don't put our consciousness on after or before a plant medicine journey. It's the speed of karmic acceleration and the integration modality. Those two things, if you don't consciously, put your intention, for example, I would like, I feel very empowered and vital, even if I'm a little bit scared, because that's normal. I wish to heal these particular topics in a very strong and quick way. That's different than if you show up and you say, I want to heal these things in a gentle and slow way, because, it depends what you can handle. And if you don't, let's say, ask a certain way of how you want it to go, then it could be a bit strong in the after effects, because, or you go in a full-on process for 2 weeks, or it can take a few months to slowly be integrated. And actually you have the possibility to say something to the spirit about it. You can say, I feel ready to go, deep. And afterward, because the real ceremony, it's really after the ceremony, it's what you do with your, let's say, new open channels and new consciousness with it. Mm-hmm. Now, keep in mind, maybe you don't want to ask a too fast acceleration on the karmic plane, because it can be very substantial to handle afterwards. And how you want the integration to go, it's you talking to your own consciousness. So you can say, I'm ready to put this integration of this experience as a priority for the next month, because I'm mature enough to understand that the real work is in the post-ceremony time frame. So I just wanted to touch base on that, because I think it's of value to consider, especially when you work with advanced practitioners like in Ritzman.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I love that you're weaving like so many of these different modalities together in the awareness of like how to steer and navigate with the psychedelics. And I think like you've really hit the nail on the head in terms of like how you can like the medicine. The way that I'm starting to see it is almost as if it's a like psychedelics being like a portal for your consciousness to interface more directly with infinite intelligence. And so you're, people might have a trip and they're like, oh, I saw some visions and stuff, but it's like, no, you can talk to the visions. You can be like, you can ask for help. You can ask for guidance from that sort of, psychic state that you're in the middle of a journey. And that's something that even a lot of people like they forget that they can do. I've even seen this at Rhythmia, like out of like, coming out of ceremony, people had a really rough time, and this is natural sometimes with ayahuasca. By the end, everyone's glowing, but like, in the middle, sometimes there's some difficulty. And I often give the advice of like, hey, don't forget, like you can ask for help, both from the medicine, and from the helpers who are here to support you. You can, show up and say like, I need something and I'm not sure what it is, or I need some support. And sometimes the medicine will say, well, do this, sometimes it's as simple as like, you've been lying on your back for a long time. Try lying on your side, get really comfy, breathe deep, relax, smile. And other times it's like, go and talk to this shaman right here. He can help you right now. It's amazing yeah, so when you surrender, when you have that humility like you're describing, and you really surrender to the wisdom that's blowing up all around you, that's just like all perpetually around you, then it can fill you with its grace. But it can't do that if it's not able to get in, because you're like, no, I know everything already, if that's your mindset.
In Kundalini yoga, in the tradition, they say that when you say, I know that, I know, it's constricting the mental channels of receiving intuitive answers, which is, of course,
Right.
multiplied when you're under plant medicine. So if it's a problem of ego, it's like if you comfort yourself in a certain mental construct, you feel a little bit more safe, but you are secluded in a bubble and things cannot get in, they cannot get through. I mean, I know you talk from experience. It's only through experience that you understand that it's okay to ask for help. It's probably actually part of the process. And, don't try to constrict or shield what is happening, because the thing is too powerful. If you take the right dose in the right setting with the right intention, it's strong enough to blow your mental restrictions. And if you force, it's going to be painful to teach you. So the surrender art, because it's an art, the art of surrender, it's such an important key to the evolution of your consciousness. And it's not just in strong plant medicine, although for many people, it's a super humbling experience. But just for the sake of the conversation, for me, it was much harder in an ice bath. Mega hard.
Did you say in an ice bath?
Yeah. Breathing.
Yeah,
and so
yeah. Of course. Tell me about it.
I did for the first time in Sweden in a retreat that I was co-hosting, and I started to have mental chatter that was pointing out to big resistance. Like before we went in, I was like, this is so stupid. Why would people do that? It's mega cold. And outside, it's rainy, it's night, and we're like in our bathing swimming short. This is ridiculous. I don't want to do it. I want to go inside. I don't need this. And because my mind was going crazy, I was like, okay, something is like not happy about me going to the ice. Let's just see what happens. And I go inside the ice after all these Swedish people who are a bit like Vikings to me. Me, I'm very Mediterranean. For me, they are a bit like Vikings. They all stayed the full 2 minutes without even, showing any pain on their face. They were quite blissful. They were like, oh. And me, I go in with all the training I have, about I know how it works. I need to surrender. I need to go into the feeling, and I just breathe, and it's not going to last long, and blah, blah, blah. And after 30 seconds, it's triggering such a deep place in my energy field that I jump out and I yell and I start to cry for 45 minutes. And I'm like, oh my God, what is this? And after that, I had things coming up. And while I was doing my process and I was crying and not getting in the way, trying to understand what's going on, but not attached to knowing. And then I started to see an image of a woman drowning into an ice lake and dying there. And when my wife came and she put her hand on me, she saw the similar thing. So possibly we can, have fun and say it's a trauma from another incarnation where I died into the ice. And with all the plant medicine and all the personal development and all my journey, this particular pattern, this particular trauma, it was never triggered until I went into an ice bath. So basically, if you don't put the right conditions, the thing is not going to surface. And for me, and I did it two more times. And for me, this was the hardest teaching about surrendering. And I'm not even saying I managed to do it. The last time I could stay 1 minute, but it was still mega strong, and I still had this cleansing process after. So, you can learn the surrendering the nice and easy way every day. Michael Singer, I don't know if you read him. He read The Untitled Soul. For me, it's a Bible about very simple yogic teachings. His approach is every day when you have a little thing triggering you, or just, you relax and release for small things during the day. And then when bigger things come up, you're more trained to do it. And I like his approach. So, or you can do it the easy way. You learn to surrender on little triggers, little issues during the day, or you go a little bit the warrior way, and you try to surrender in a 0-degree bath. Have you tried it?
Oh my God. Actually, yeah, no, I have, but not in the Wim Hof setting. Like, I've definitely done ice baths before. And the last time was actually not too long ago. It was November here in British Columbia in Canada, and I actually live right near a lake. And so this lake is very interesting because even though it's like snowing and cold and, in a sub-zero temperature, the lake doesn't freeze. And so it was pretty cold. And so the last time I went in was it was like early November, and I jumped in, and I think the last time I did, I set a timer for myself. I did kind of the same thing. I'm going to do 1 minute. And I set the timer, and I just jumped in, and I'm not just lying there, I'm treading. So I'm moving, it's probably not quite the same, and I'm breathing. But it was really intense. And after I got out, I, just ran inside and haven't gone back. Now, at the same time, this just listening to you, it's triggering within me this sort of oh, are you going to chicken out, Jordan? Are you going to not do it again? I'm building up this, maybe I can get back in there. But I'm also reflecting on the value of the community energy, right? Because you had all these people around you, and when everyone's there to do it, there's more motivation. That getting yourself to do it yourself can be a little bit more difficult if there's not this mutual support of everyone pushing them forward. And so maybe I need friends to jump in the lake in January with, but yeah, it is intense. And honestly, kudos to you for going through that and using it for such potent healing. I think that's amazing and very inspiring, actually.
I didn't have much of a choice. I just,
I guess
knew that something did not want to go inside, which means you need to go inside. And then I just it's for me, but I'm not even sure I finished that process, to be honest. Because right now, while you were talking, I visualize myself jumping in an ice cold lake with you, and I feel a resistance, no, I don't want to do it.
Oh,
so there's still a little bit of that.
Yeah.
It's no.
That would be fun though. If you ever come out and visit in Canada, we'll go jump in the lake. We'll film it. We'll turn it into a video. Be fun.
On video, how to hold yourself together on that experience.
Actually, that's another layer of pressure is when you're being filmed. It's one is you have other people around. Two is you're on camera now, and you feel this sense of responsibility to hold it together and not go too crazy, or to really not break down, because there's your pride is now mixed in. But so on the one hand, it's beneficial, but on the other hand, it's that's why they don't allow cameras in the ceremony space and for ayahuasca and stuff, because it's this is too sacred to be filmed. So there's a give and take.
For the sake of the recording, I will do it on camera with you if I come. I commit. There's when when you be the center, I'm sure there will be an ice room somewhere.
Yeah, we'll put a cold lake. We'll build it next to a cold lake. We'll do ice baths in the winter. That'll be really fun.
Last time I did it, I was caught on camera, and I put it on my Instagram, and it doesn't look pretty.
Nice.
I'm like this in the ice, looking at the sun, because that one was in the morning, and I'm like, ah! And my wife is behind with the drum. Whoa! Honestly, it's a cool shot, huh? But I was not very prideful at this moment. But if you can't be vulnerable in any circumstance, of course you don't start with the hardest one. But being vulnerable is mandatory, especially for men to learn, because it can unlock so much, especially in your relationship, actually, and in your heart space, which is, for me, the guiding principle of all of my research and all of my experiments in life. is following the teaching of all the keys are in the heart. And then, figure out what there is to learn, what it means, what all ancient masters have been telling about love and compassion, and not doing in a intellectual way of, oh yeah, I know what it is. No, truly feeling it and what it can mean. Is, let's say, my spiritual topic. The keys of the heart.
You're sorry. No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. No, it's all you.
It's just the internet lagging.
No, it is, because I there was a pause, and I just was like, oh, that was it, and then you kept going, and I'm sorry. You struck such a resonant tone that I was just feeling so deeply of the need to be vulnerable, for men to be vulnerable especially, but like you're calling in for me this reflection, like for this year in 2021, like the year started with this big awareness of showing up more on the internet, like actually as a part of spirit science, showing up with live streams and broadcasts and being being my most authentic self, just being myself on camera for the world. And this isn't something that I've never really ventured into before, for several reasons. One, is definitely easier to hide behind Patchman. I also love cartoons, so I'm not hiding. I was just doing the things that I wanted to do and love doing. But also that, because often I would work so hard, I would just be always so focused on all the different things I was working on that I would be exhausted. And if I, to show up on camera as myself, I would be tired all the time. And I didn't want to put that version of me on the internet. So I just didn't. And so this year is starting with a new energy of I'm playing piano on live streams every evening, and we're starting a gaming channel, and we're doing more broadcasts on the spirit science, and we have a team spirit. There's so many different avenues of content creation. It's the doors are just exploding open, and it's so interesting. But there's the requirement, as you're speaking to, of that it's not just as much as showing up. It is this necessity to be vulnerable, to be authentic, to be yourself, and to be able to talk about and express things. I have no doubts that as time goes on, there will be expressions that will be more and less, intimate in terms of sharing personal stories and stuff like that. And it's a whole new world. It's a new adventure, but it's one I'm really grateful to be able to walk. So I just want to say thank you for speaking to that, because that's very true to my experience right now, especially more than ever.
And what that brings to my awareness, you sharing this story, is now it's time. It's time to trust the process. It's uncomfortable because you have to show, to the public space. It's part of yourself that you could be what we call self-conscious about, which is not a positive term. But it's the key, The key is to be completely authentic. And if you are committed to shining your light the brightest for the benefit of all, then even when it's uncomfortable, if you feel the calling, you're going to do it. And know that there are so many other people, but mostly also men, that can be inspired by this. And this is, for me, one of the biggest realizations I've had, when I was meditating on what is my life purpose, what I'm supposed to do, what is the calling, just to make sure I do the right thing for my soul imprint and blah, blah, blah. The answer that came is lead by example. Because actually there's nothing else you can really do. That's what the masters have been doing. It's you lead by example, and you offer yourself as a source of inspiration for who will be inspired. And for me, it was so powerful. So, you showing up and putting the container of, hey guys, I want to do that, and maybe it's uncomfortable, but I believe this is right, and you do it, man, in the subconscious of people watching these videos, it's so strong, because you've done much more than, sometimes another modality can do for them. They feel, oh, this person is doing it, it resonates inside me, you know what, maybe I'm going to consider it too. So leading by example and inspiring people, especially when you have a public, let's say, channel of communication, is one of the best things you can do. So thank you for doing what you do, because it's inspiring me and it's inspiring so many people.
I mean, thank you in return. There's a lot of gratitude here today. It's beautiful. So, like, I mean, one of the things that you had on the list to talk about, and I wanted to ask you too, like, just speaking to, like, I mean, we've talked about this wellness tech, but you personally, I mean, you've been walking this path of like spiritual entrepreneurship as well, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to share anything about like your story in that regard? Because that's been something that's coming up a lot. Like, you know, we're moving in the direction of doing like a spiritual business course as a part of Spirit Mysteries. I'd love to pick your brain a little bit about your experiences, sort of like taking all of this stuff and making it available at all the different levels that you can.
100%. I love this topic, and I'm participating. Actually, one of my best friends here and colleague, partner, let's say, is organizing masterminds of conscious entrepreneurs. And because we're in Bali at the moment, there is a lot of conscious entrepreneurs. And I love this particular topic because of several, let's say, items that I can share with you or that we can discuss. The first one is that this strong separation between your personal or spiritual development and your business life, that's old school. You know, it's not, I worked 7 hours a day at work and then I meditate and I read spiritual books. And this is me and this is my business. It's not like this anymore. Of course, you can choose to continue to live in a more old-fashioned way, but the offering, what is proposed to you today is you live in a spiritual way, meaning in a way that is dedicated to the upliftment of your quality of life, but also the one of the collective, 24 hours. And it doesn't mean you're meditating or doing plant medicine. It means you're building your business, you're interacting with your clients, you're interacting with your colleagues. All of that, you make it a spiritual experience. So this is for me the first key is, you know, all the teachings, you can apply them with a specific filter, specific lens in your business. And when you build your business, and whatever it is, you know, there is always colleagues and clients and an area or sector and so on. You do it with the idea of, I'm going to make this a spiritual practice for me. So on the personal side, of course, there is the interaction with people, the triggers, the way you consider yourself, your own limiting belief of what you can achieve and blah, blah, blah. So that's great because it's material for your growth, but also the business itself, you know, how do I make it so that this business, when it's working into the world, when it's interacting with people and other business, how can I make sure that it's having a positive impact? Not an offset of like, you know, I take the plane, I pay €3 more, I'm offsetting my carbon imprint, but a positive one, meaning after this business has acted into the world, the imprint that is left is more coherence, more, let's say, positive energy for people or for the society. And why would we do that? Because you can have a successful liquor shop and selling alcohol, and you can be successful in the old terms, in money and fame and so on. But it's not aligned with the new grids of the new earth and the new way that we're interacting. Today, I strongly believe, and I have many confirmation from different aspects of life that tell me that if you play the game in a collective way, so really what I'm bringing into my business, it is, of course, for living my life and being able to put food on the table and so on, but also in a way that is positively impacting the world, then it will work better. This I am convinced. One way that I can share my own experience, it's like, I don't like to say it's a trick, but it's an offering, it's a proposition for you guys. If you really want to go like a little bit farther on the spiritual side, is I have my business and I make a contract with the invisible forces, the invisible realm, with the source, if you want to connect to source or your angels or whatever, and you say, I want to play this game in a different way. If you help me from your side to be more successful, to have more reach, more growth, I will commit. For example, for me, I chose 22% of all my earnings giving back to local communities, projects that are helping something that is, donations and so on. And this way, if you understand what it is, my wife is saying you're hustling with God. And I say, okay, you can see it like this, but you can also see it that it's a beneficial partnership, because the more success is being brought to you, the more you automatically give back as a percentage. And me, I see it as a way to co-create in a new way. And that's part of, for me, conscious, let's say, spiritual business. So I just wanted to throw in those two different aspects, my own, let's say, action on this topic, and the fact that today the business life should be or can be a spiritual experience for you and others. Does that resonate for you?
Yeah, completely. I think it's like the biggest hurdle for, I mean, you've probably seen, we did a spiritual money movie for Spirit Science, right? And it was very like, I mean, a lot of people were really like on board with the idea. And it was still overwhelmingly positive. But there were those people who were like, I sold out, you're doing the, money and spirituality don't go together. And it was for those people that we made that in the first place, because that used to be my mindset, because I listened to those people. And so it all comes full circle. But like the integration of like, it's not that you're running a spiritual business, but it's that you are living your life with the deepest level of passion and purpose that you can. And that naturally bleeds into everything that you do, whether it's running a business or playing video games. And I that one's very fresh in my mind, because this is the conversation we're having of like, I mean, online gaming is such a big community, and we were like, can we use that platform? Like, because there's some of our team members that enjoy games, but it's like, can we use that platform to raise consciousness, to have like an enlightened gaming experience? Because there's a lot of toxicity there. It's the same thing with business, is there's a lot of toxicity in business. But can we do it in an enlightened way? And if we can, like, we can raise the consciousness, that we can raise the frequency of that area, and lift it all up. So I fully agree. And I think it's really about like the union of like that. Well, really, it's like the left brain and the right brain, and finding like the creative things you love to do, the businessy structures that are required in order to do it as like an entrepreneur, and synthesizing those with the heart, so that it's a natural, loving co-creation that you're doing both through yourself and with the world, in whatever way it is that you operate, that you do things.
I love the way you just put it together. It was so beautiful. It was perfect. I was like, wow, I'm taking this with your consent for my own understanding of it. Now it's beautiful, and this is the way. It's the way of the heart, and your reality starts with you: business life, relationship, friendship, blah, blah, blah. It's all you interacting. So the way that you decide to show up in life, if you want to do it through the heart, with vulnerability, with benefit of the collective in mind instead of personal gain, then everything is infused with a new coherence, with a new grace. You mentioned grace earlier. Isn't that so beautiful? Like, grace is kind of like this mystery energy that is helping you out of nowhere if somehow you meet some criteria. I mean, it's so cool, It's like, is the divine saying, thank you, I resonate with what you're doing, I can help you this way up. So beautiful.
Right. It's like there was a moment in my recent trip to Rhythmia with the ayahuasca that there was this experience I was having of just sort of experiencing like the goddess, the creatrix, if you will, and being just so like kind of like, wow, like just in awe and gratitude for like the majesty that was happening both in my transformation, that was happening all around me. And I kept repeating, like, by her grace, by her grace, this is possible. And this kind of reminds me of like states of prayer. Like, you could say also the exact same thing of in the more traditional, maybe Christian, Catholic, or, the Abrahamic faiths, like by his grace, by the grace of God, by the grace of the Creator, all of this is happening. And when we submit, and again, it kind of comes back to that humility and that surrender. It's like when we just are able to be in awe and reverence of the majesty that's around us. It's like that grace, that love, that power moves through you with grace, right? That's why it's like you can create with grace and ease. It's like a phrase to describe like how effortless something can become when you're really in the flow state of learning it and doing it and practicing it, right? And it all just happens like when you're tapped into love, when you're tapped into that heart-centered place where everything weaves together within you. Grace is just like the byproduct. It just happens through you so beautifully, and it's just that je ne sais quoi, that special something that happens.
Especially because I'm French, I love that you just said that.
I did it for you.
Love it. No, but this is touching upon a very simple understanding that we have across all traditions, across all sacred scriptures, and across all type of practices. Is why is the heart so important? I mean, it could be one of the 7 chakras, but it could be it could be the solar plexus, that everybody's like, oh my God, this is the sacred portal. But why is it the heart? Do you ever wonder that? It looks like it's the most important chakra.
I mean, I would say, are you asking me for an answer? Is that rhetorical?
We can actually ask you for an answer. I'm curious.
Oh, okay. Well, my answer is that the heart is the balancer, the supreme balancer between the top and the bottom, because you've got 3 on each side, and this is that place where like the higher super cosmic infinite consciousness of the crown and beyond merges with like that raw survival, just matter body, of the physical. Because the body, I mean, think about it. A body without any intelligence is like a caveman. It's a very rudimentary system, and the more intelligence you add, the higher and higher consciousness it goes. But like a person who has all intelligence, like the smartest person in the world, can also be like the biggest jerk, because they're not connected to any love. They're not grounded in like the symbiotic relationship of like, you need to take that higher everything and bring it down to the body. And then you have to take the physical connection, the feeling of the body in the lower centers, and have an elevated awareness about them. And all of that, like the information travels up and down through the heart. And as long as it's going through the heart, you have like a symbiotic relationship. And that would be the simple way of describing it.
I love it. I mean, aside from the fact that it's in the middle, and of course it's the merger and the balancer, like you said, which for me resonates 100%. On top of it, there is the idea, the archetypal idea of there is the mother energy, the creatrix, that is manifesting creativity into a tangible way, and then there is the idea, the source of the idea, that is God. And then where are you in that story? But you end up to be in the middle. But the reason why you feel connected to these 2 cosmic imprints is because you are able to feel love. And it's so mysterious because love is like a 4-letter word that is probably the most discussed in the whole of humanity and probably the whole universe, because it has a magic inside we don't understand. It's a feeling.
Yeah.
And it's the most amazing feeling. And like I was touching upon before, so some scientists like to describe love as resonance with something else, or if you're enlightened, resonance with everything. And it's so crazy, because it means that there is inside you, somewhere hidden, the capacity to enter in resonance with everything in a graceful way, in a coherent way, in an expanding way. And isn't that magical? We can go so far with an intellectual mind, with understanding and working through and making happen and forcing. But at the end, the reason why it's so humbling is that we still don't understand. We still can only be in awe of, oh my God. You know, like your moments where you are in front of the creatrix or tuning into the creative energy, you're blasted.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. It's so crazy. And this opens the neuronal pathway for you to remember what you felt, because actually right now, talking to me in your office with your cup, it's still there. The same amazingness. It's just harder to tune into it, but it's there. And very far in life, if you know, that's what the Indian gurus are saying, the enlightened ones. They say you can look at a cup of coffee and you can just look at it as if it's the most beautiful sunset. And you're like, yeah, in theory, but I cannot do it. You know, I still find it much less beautiful than a sunset. But hidden inside you is the capability to see everything as the most amazing thing, the most exciting and most beautiful thing in the world. And for me, that keeps me going. That keeps me going, like, in my life, because I know this exists, this state, and probably there's nothing else you want to experience, because that's like the max peak of everything.
Yeah. No, I mean, holy smokes, dude. Very, very well said. I love that. Like and it's like, it takes a certain level of like practice on your spiritual path to be able to even like conceptualize that, because if you tried to talk to someone on the side of the road in the middle of a busy city or whatever, right? And you're like, did you know that every single moment is beautiful? You know, I mean, some people might be like, wow, thank you, you know, but other people might be like, you think this shit is all pretty? What the hell's wrong with you, right? Like, you'll get these very polarized answers because not everyone can really see that. And it's very difficult to see that when you're entrenched in suffering. And we all have suffering. We're all healing different things and going through stuff, right? And some people are deeper in it, or have more right in front of their faces, right? And so we have to exercise some level of like just empathy and compassion for all the different levels of where human consciousness is at, because we really do extend from, you know, very just like blissful states that people live in, all the way down to much more, you know, just dense and heavy experiences that we're working through. And we're like this very complex, you know, matrix of information, of conscious information that we're moving together as a field, trying to figure out what this whole life thing is and how to work together as a species.
So beautiful. It's true, right? Because we forget we're all in the same boat, and even the Henry in the city. And that's what I love about the Buddhist tradition. In their way, it's we cannot be liberated fully until everybody else is liberated. And that's so beautiful, because it keeps your ego in check. It's like, it's not you on the way of opening the gateway to intelligence infinity for your own sake. Until everybody can do it, we are actually not done with our work. And that's why we have the concept of bodhisattva that come back to help, because for them, there is no other way. So we are all in the same boat. We all feel separate, but we're all the same. And we need to be liberated at a collective level if we want to go to the next, let's say, octave of experience all together. And for me, it resonates strongly because it helps also, you know, it helps you with one of the traps for people like us that is called the spiritual ego. That's a trap, you know. The more spiritual you become and the more amazing your life becomes, and the more like filled with love and excitement and you know, subconsciously you can start to be, yeah, it's amazing. You know, I did it and I became better than other people. But no, you're just at a later stage of advancement on the same adventure, because everybody else will go the same way. Thank God we have an infinite time to do that, you know, even though it seems like it's not the case. But everybody will go through these amazing realizations. If you're a little bit further on the way, then you automatically have a duty to help the ones behind. You know, if you're one step up, you need to help them go up the stairs. And I love to tune back into this concept in, yes, I can create my life in an amazing way, and I feel my state of being so vibrant and so full of love and so on, but it doesn't make me better. It just makes me actually have more responsibility because I'm there. Then it means I have to give back more, you know? It's probably like
I feel that.
Normally the more rich people, they should give more, but it's not the case because of course, greed and other problems of the ego and so on. But normally, you know, if you talk to a child that can understand the concept, they will be like, oh yeah, if someone has more, they can share more, you know? Well, it's what we need to consider as spiritual seekers is the more we discover and the more we enjoy our experience, the more we have to share. Because we have to give back, you know? So I don't know how we came up to this discussion, but it's the flow.
No, it's really good, and it's really important, really potent, because that's also very true. It's like the more that you grow on your spiritual path, it's like an energetic equivalent of like having kids. But I have to discern like the difference here. But like, you know, like a parent to their child, like the parent has so many responsibilities to make sure that their child's okay and well fed and taken care of every step along the way, right? And the child has very few responsibilities. And it's similar, again, not identical, but similar in the sense that, like, you know, when you're growing on a spiritual path, the older you get, the more mature you get, you have this responsibility to support people who maybe they're still growing through their stuff and they don't know like all the power that's within them just yet. And it's okay to, you know, to be in service. Now, it's not like this direct, you know, parent-child correlation, but you do have this, there's a lot more responsibility that the child doesn't even conceptualize is there, like doesn't really realize how much support or don't have the ability to be grateful for the support that other people are able to give them potentially, or that's there for their benefit that they might not know. And that's okay. You know, like we are kind of, I think, as you said, like we are really all collectively evolving. We're all collectively growing. We don't know exactly what we're doing every step along the way. And that's okay. That's part of what we're here to learn and figure out. So we have to be able to go easy on ourselves and each other for someone who makes mistakes, or ourselves when we make mistakes, or, you know, even for people who we have decided, you know, are bad people. You know, like you look out into like the political spectrum or in the big tech or the pharmaceutical industry, whatever, right? Like all these giant industries, it's not hard to find like a lot of like conspiracies and just finger pointing, you know, Mark Zuckerberg's ruining the world. Bill Gates is a bad guy. The pharmaceutical industry, this and that, you know, it's like, there's always that. There's those like people that we believe are bad. But if we look at it as sort of this bigger picture of like, even those quote unquote bad people, like they're doing the best that they can with the information that they have, even if they're selfish, even if they're sure, like that's fine. But it's all still like a part of this big human experience that we're all going through together. And like that awareness can offer us a little bit of a break to just like breathe and be okay, so that we can focus on our growth and hopefully help those around us so that the whole system goes up together.
It's wonderful to see it like that. And actually the point you touch upon regarding all the conspiracy, let's say, and I don't say theory because there's nothing less of a theory around that. It's like very real, but it's a sensitive topic to say about, you know, like talk about Bill Gates and about these archetypal roles in the duality, because it's a strong duality here. It's a strong polarity between those who do that and those who want more light and more love. But it's not as dramatic as what we could feel. Because if you have the awareness, like you said, to like zoom out and be like, okay, this is the theater play in front of me on this planet right now for purposes and reasons that are beyond me. If I remember we are all one, and these people, and it's true what you said, if we were in their place, so if we were in the mind of these people, and we are the sum of all the experiences they've had in their childhood, in their trauma, in their parents, in their conditioning, we would have no choice but to act the same. This is a tough one to say, because then you can have people jump to your throat. What? It means like it's okay? No, it doesn't mean it's okay. It means you need to act in a way when there is something not good in the world, not fair, or not, that doesn't resonate. You don't do anything. You actually act upon it, but you remember, to not get caught in the drama of it. Because if you were in that, I call it a vantage point of perception. That's how they call it in tantric psychology. If you were in the other one's point of consciousness, you would play the same role. But you are not there, you're in this one. Right. So what role do you want to play? How do you act into the world with this awareness? And that's what people need to, instead of going crazy on the public space about conspiracy and creating more aggression, the question is, yes, you have more awareness about the situation, but how can you make it have a positive effect around you? And that's a real question, It's a real question.
Mm-hmm. Wait, so when you say a real question, are you asking me directly, or are you, is like a retort? This is something for everyone, right? That's kind of where I was taking it.
For me, this is for everyone in the spiritual community who is aware of conspiracy, how to act in a way that is positive for everyone, instead of creating more aggression and so on. And everyone will have a different answer, but if we don't ask the question to ourselves, we might add polarity. And if you add polarity, sometimes it's not what is the best thing, in a highly polarized debate. But I love what you guys did on the conspiracy series, because it was also a bold move to go into that space. But for me, it was a right one. It was a necessary one, because it can bring the kind of the lightness of the avatar that you guys created and the entire spirit science world to bring messages that are a bit more difficult, but that are part of the game if you want to grow in consciousness. So really kudos to you guys for that. It was a very beautiful, beautiful move.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was fun. I mean, honestly, that series happened at all because this is my fault. I was making fun of conspiracies, not in a way to discredit them, but just because I thought it would be cute. We were doing these skits in the middle of last year, right? Those like really short, like minute long, like funny parody videos. And so we made one about like the Corona-spiracy theories. And a lot of people thought it was hilarious. But there was, a good like 20%, dislike ratio, which is larger than normal. And a lot of people being like, how dare you not talk about the conspiracies or like discredit them, da da da. And we were like, oh, we could do a conspiracy series. Yeah, okay. And then it like a flash, as if like divine providence, the conspiracy theory of everything in its totality like flowed through me. And I literally I just like went into writing and I couldn't stop for like a day or two. And I churned out like the script for more than half of it, like that. It's like 4 hours long or so. But that was the foundation, and we just kept building it from there. But like it became this like very divinely inspired, channeled kind of message of like, here's all the things we have to cover, and weaving them into a bigger picture. But yeah, like it was fun. It was fun. So, and we laid it to rest for a time being. Like, we're complete on the movie. We'll come back to probably conspiracies in the future, but right now we're focusing now in a new direction for the new year of 2021, and it is what it is.
But this is amazing. Like we were saying earlier, how you decide to act given a certain information or knowledge, you have the choice. Or you can focus more on it, or you can focus less and focus on something else. And it's a true coding you need to be clear on. And I noticed that many of the spiritual teachers and let's say also channelers that I was following for the 2021 kind of resolution, after having spoken a lot in a channeled way, trance channel or not, about the true state of the world and the true agendas and the true play that is hidden to most people, they came up with, actually, I received the message to not speak about hidden agendas and conspiracy, starting 1st of January. Basically, my
Yeah.
guidance is asking me to focus on positive, uplifting, empowering topics and not the other ones, because basically it's what will be of the most benefit to the world for these people. For me personally, I've never taken it too deep in terms of awakening the people to the conspiracy. Just one time I made one post where I said, something about basically I end up supporting Trump even though I don't like the guy, because in my perception, there is no choice but to consider it this way. So it's not my personal preference, but I end up, due to my thinking and my intuitive feeling, that it's the least worst, and people jump to my throat, and friends also, and I was like, wow, you say one little thing like this out of context, bam,
Yeah.
I got assassinated by also dear friend and so on. And I was like, okay, this type of topic, it's really touchy, and you need to make sure, if you are asked to take the role of the people who awaken the others to this type of topics, it comes with a cost, and it means you will not be able to convey a message of love or unity, because if you're talking about this strongly polarizing message, people won't receive your message of unity. They would say, oh no, this person is of course denouncing these things, whether it's true or not. I cannot take in the rest of their message. And that was a lesson that I learned.
Yeah.
Food for thought.
I think like it's so interesting that you got that download, or at least rather that you're saying like a lot of people have got that download of like not talking about conspiracies 2021. Because it really seems like 2020 was like, that was the year for it. That's why the conspiracy theory of everything was made that year. And literally it's like today, the day that we're recording this, is like this morning, we posted the full movie, putting the definitive end in the conspiracy theory of everything, saying that's done. That's a movie. We're good. We did what we set out to do, and moving into something new. And when I was at Rhythmia, again, like December, mid-December, that was a big part of the download that I got. Was like, I went to this place where I saw, it was like, here's this little pocket dimension, right? 3D, 4D, 5D that we're, in, and maybe 2D down there too. And here's where all the conspiracies are. Here's where all the deep state is. Here's where all human consciousness is, and all of the craziness that's happening. And then I kind of was able to see, here's a bigger picture, and all of those things, like the control agendas, the Illuminati, the deep state, the secret government, all of the reptiles. And it's like, it's all a part of a divine order, and that we're paying the karmic prices for the sins of our past, of ourselves today, and our ancestors, and we're healing it all. But like, it's there for a reason. And it's not like, if you, and there was this big thing that I was just like very called to express and to talk about and to teach, which was that if you live if you live your life railing against, let's say, here's our little pocket dimension of where we exist, and here's the deep state controlling everything. Like, if we're living our lives afraid of those guys, then we miss the higher order, and we lose the connection to that because we're focused too small, and we have to go bigger. We have to go to God, to source, to spirit, to the creator, the creatrix, however you want to describe it, to nature, right? Like, if we can go to those places, we can bring that energy into our bodies and into the world. But if we're only focused on the control of how oppressed and controlled we are, then that's the vibration that we're putting out into the world, and that's what we create more of. So it was like the conspiracy theory of everything was necessary, and now it's time to go bigger, and that's why CTOE ended the way that it did, with ascension, because the ending is going higher than the limits of the problems that we have.
100%. And in a way, what you just described, it resonates with me on a particular, let's say, view, is that if you focus too much and you resonate on that level, then your consciousness and your vibratory level somehow and subconsciously, it's aligning to that level. It doesn't mean you deny it and so on, but it's just that if you're focused and plugged in and tuned in a level of such conflict and horror and misery, you're also getting entangled there. So it's much harder to pull out. And as we were saying before, like, or maybe we didn't, I don't know, but for me, it's like one of the things that I love to remind myself and other people too. The reason why the best thing you can do for the world is to shine your lights the brightest. It can seem selfish because that means you have to focus on yourself so much, but it's selfish in a selfless way. It's like the best you can do to solve or to help everything that you see and that you love is to actually increase your state of being to the highest possible. Because trusting the divine order of things, when you do this, it ripples out in ways that you are not even conscious of. For example, living by example, inspiring people. So the problem is that if you are too focused on a sub, let's say, dimension, because it's all frequency, a sub-dimension that is actually tangled into conflict and pain also, and deceit, like when you're being deceived and so on, automatically you're aligning and resonating with that level. Even if you don't be, you're still entering in resonance. And I think that's probably the reason why there is so many people, including you, that are getting the download of conspiracy exists here. It's true. It needs to be addressed, but it doesn't mean we get stuck on it. Let's see what else there is, because actually it will have a better positive impact. And, it's beautiful. Hopefully not everybody has to go through that darkness to continue their journey, because you never want to wish anybody to go to any darkness. So, if actually take the indigenous, they can grow spiritually in love and in state of being without being aware of all the conspiracy. So it's possible. For some people, it's a necessary, let's say, breakdown to break through, which sometimes is the only way you can go to the other side. But, fully supporting the direction that you guys are taking on this. And I'm here to support in any way that I can, because I believe it's so coherent with what I think is correct, is good for the world. So really, again, I want to thank you for what you guys are doing and the way that it's being done. Even more important than the thing, the way it's being done, the energy and the purity and the simplicity of it, that is actually more powerful than mega advanced spiritual teaching. The way delivered,
I appreciate everything that you've said so much, and I'm so happy that you could join me here on this podcast today, man. This was really just a wild ride. I feel like I just leveled up by listening to you, and thank you in return. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for saying that too, and so fun. I mean, this is like, I love to do this, having this conversation that can link and create coherence in different ways. For the sake of, if we have something to share, maybe somebody has to listen to it, and we don't need to know why. It's part of the magic of it all. So fun to talk to you. I learned also a lot, and thank you for these gifts. And I look forward to what is coming for this year, for both you and for the collective, and for me also. That's what happens.
Yeah. Me too. Hey, really quick before we adjourn this sacred conversation, for everyone out there who's tuning in, if they wanted to find you and find your work and your material and everything, where do we go to look? Now we'll put the links in the comments below, but please share with us where can we find you?
For sure. In the links you will see it's kind of like you. I'm not creating a personal brand of Thomas Carriere, and this is what I do. I'm more like focused on separate approaches. So in YouTube, for example, it's called Resonance Frequencies, and it's a YouTube channel for sharing about how the quantum technology Healy is revolutionizing the way we perceive science and how to use it. In Instagram is Kural, Kural 444. It's more my personal sharing and my personal also travel diary, because I've been traveling for years. And for example, I just did a pilgrimage in Egypt, and I did some activations in the temples, and the new technologies I'm working with. So this is more for sharing my personal platform, and I have the website offering my personal services also, that is called coralmodernchaman.com, which is more display of what I learned along the way that I want to offer to people that feel that they could use it. So it's the way that I approach the multidisciplinary, let's say, profile that you are depicting at the beginning of, you seem to be working in different areas. I believe that going into the future, the 5D, everyone becomes very multidisciplinary. It's not, oh, I'm an electrician, or it's like you have a lot of talents, you showcase them a different way, for the benefit of what it is. So if you guys want to connect with me, I would love to hear from you, or if it resonated something that I said or the way that I conduct this work, I'll be very happy to share and then to talk. Okay, we can talk on Instagram. I think it's a good way, or through the email on the website. And yes, looking forward to whatever comes next.
Amazing. Awesome. So yeah, for everyone listening in, please go and check out Thomas's work. Go and send him a message on Instagram. He's looking forward to hearing from you. And with that, I think that brings us to the end. But thank you again so much. This was really, really fun. And it's 3:33 on my clock right now. That's amazing. Perfect. Couldn't be more perfect. So thank you again. This was really special. And I look forward to having you on the podcast again someday.
I'm here whenever, and please make sure to connect with me personally also, so we can exchange in a more personal level too. I think that would be interesting. And I say that, and I see the word. My eyes land on the thankful T-shirt or caution you have there. So just thank you. It was so fun. It's really
thankful.
Yeah, the thankful. And
yeah, so absolutely.
Cool. Such an honor to have had this sacred conversation with you and to get to know you. Just fantastic.
All right. Peace and love. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next time.